that's a good signing for Swinton. Swinton's a side that often seems to kind of cobble together a lot of young players in their spine. So I think having an experienced player to help those younger players will be a really good move.
Yep, definitely.
A few more championship lines. Featherstone have confirmed the departures of Alex Susinio and Connor Kerr. Sorry, I'm laughing because to myself, I nearly started singing
Susinio.
Yeah.
Can't be a bit of Phil Collins. Allegedly.
The pair returned to Australia. They are 2 of 6 departures announced by the club, with youngsters Brandon French, Jack Richardson, Bradley Wright and Nathan Wright also moving on. 4 more players have signed deals with Sheffield. So I told you we weren't done with Sheffield. Brad Knowles has signed a 1-year contract extension, having joined the club ahead of the 2019 season. Aaron Brown will remain there, having scored a hat-trick in last year's 1895 Cup final. Who else? Paddy Burns has signed a new 1-year deal, and James Davey has also signed another deal. I think we mentioned James Davey before. But anyway, more signings at Sheffield. And young York forward Marcus Stock has put pen to paper on a new deal that will see him at the club for next year. The 24-year-old joined the Knights ahead of the 2019 campaign and has gone on to make 35 appearances for the club. And I think I just saw before we started recording that Sam Smeaton has also signed a new contract with York for next year.
There you go. I must remember not to include that next week. Barrow Raiders have confirmed the signing of prop Adam Wallen. The 30-year-old joins the club on a 2-year deal from Huddersfield after turning down offers in the Championship.
Ottawa Aces have completed the signing of witnesses Jack Johnson. God, they might as well just be called the Ottawa Vikings. The 24-year-old's put pen to paper on a deal with the Aces ahead of their inaugural season. I think it's their 13th signing.
Yeah, well, the music business isn't what it was, is it? So you've got to...
Where do the good people go? They go to Ottawa.
for now. Hunslet fullback Jimmy Watson has signed a new 1-year deal.
Jack Johnson is the guy who sung Where Do the Good People Go, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have I ever... I think so. I might have told this story before, but... we're talking... How old am I now? 35. So we're talking... 14, 15 years ago, when my friend Cass, who'll be familiar to people who've been to SLP meetups, he goes to watch Wigan matches with me, one of my best friends from school days. He was on a year out of university working, getting work experience, but he was staying at student halls in Manchester whilst he was working in construction, because he's a quantity surveyor, not as fast as Jody Broughton, I can confirm. And he had this flat, and we stayed at it a couple of times, and one of the times he woke up the next morning clearly still pissed from the night before, and he had his headphones on, and he was just singing along to Jack Johnson's Where Do the Good People Go, but only singing that line. And I don't know if that line is in that song enough times for how many times he was singing it. It took us a lot of time to work out what he was singing anyway. But that's what I always picture being in his room, him absolutely KO'd with a pizza by his head that was covered in Branston sweet and spicy sauce, and it just absolutely reeked. And him just singing along to that song, half pissed still the next morning.
Kids, eh?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if coronavirus was around then, I don't know if we'd have behaved any differently to the disease spreading kids are these days, because 4 of us slept in one single bedroom. Like, he was on his bed, and then there was one each side of the bed on the floor and one at the bottom of the floor, and there was no other room for anything else. I don't know how he got his pizza in.
That's why he was using it as a pillow.
Yeah.
Hunslet fullback Jimmy Watson has signed a new 1-year deal with the club. The 30-year-old has made 172 appearances for the Parksiders over the past 7 seasons, scoring 65 tries.
Assistant coach Brendan Sheridan has signed a new 1-year deal with Oldham.
Yep, and Doncaster have announced that 7 players have committed to the club ahead of the 2021 League One season. So Captain Brad Foster, Sam Doherty, Matty Berahel and Kieran Cross have all agreed new 2-year deals with the club. Papua New Guinea halfback Watson Boas and Doncaster-born centre Sam Smeaton have also agreed 2-year deals.
So I read the wrong news story.
That's all right. It's easy, there's a lot. It's very easy to confuse these things. While Jason Taylor is still under contract for next season after penning a 3-year contract with the club back in 2018.
It's Liam Salter who signed a new 1-year deal with York. So, yeah.
Thank you.
But Doncaster getting busy. I would imagine Doncaster fans were starting to think what's going on after Sheffield had announced 1 million re-signings this week.
Just catching up. Sorry, this is an aside, but I finally watched Another Bloody Sunday this week. The Doncaster documentary from 1981. I
was going to say, isn't that like from before we were born?
I was born in 1980. I'm that old, but oh god, it's just a brilliant piece of documentary making. It's unbelievably brilliant. Anyway,
good stuff.
I'll say that. So Scotland international Dave Scott will take up a player coaching role at Coventry Bears ahead of the 2021 season. 27-year-old has made more than 130 career appearances for Featherstone, Doncaster and Batley, earning 12 caps for Scotland. It's a good signing.
Sorry.
No, just saying it's a good signing, good sign of intent, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, they need people to support what often traditionally is a very young student-based side that comes together at Coventry, isn't it?
Yes.
So having some experience around does help.
Yeah.
Hunslet, and some experience that's a Scottish international, not a Irish or Welsh international. They really do love their Celtic flavour down in the Midlands, though, to the Bears. Hunslet have announced the re-signings of Nathan Conroy and Harry Kidd ahead of the 2021 League One season. I think they're both hookers, aren't they? So
Conroy definitely is.
Nailing down that position.
Yes, and finally, Andrew Abdo has been appointed as the new Chief Executive Officer of the NRL. Abdo, who previously served as the Chief Commercial Officer for the competition, takes over after filling in as interim CEO after Todd Greenberg left the role earlier this year. So there you go.
Yeah, it's consistency in the role, isn't it? I suppose with him doing the job for a while, through a tough period. I don't know too much about what he has actually achieved, though, because one of the negative things that came out throughout the coronavirus period in the NRL was the way the TV deal had to be sort of renegotiated on the hop with Channel 9. And they kind of got the hand forced, didn't they, there a little bit? It felt like the NRL. So I'm guessing he was involved in that. But similarly, there's been a lot of positives in the administration in Australia from the sort of Australian Rugby League side of Peter V'landys, hasn't there? So if he likes Abdo, then keeping him happy seems to be the way to go at the moment, because he's getting the public on board.
A point, traditionally, if you point somebody from internally, it tends to mean that you're quite happy with the status quo and the kind of direction of travel, and it might be that you're not bringing in somebody who's necessarily going to disagree with the direction of travel. So for me, that's what it feels like as an outsider.
Yeah, exactly. And he must have a similar idea for the strategy of the sport as what seems to be at the top at the moment, which seems to be strengthening its core rather than making expansion attempts at the moment. So, which a lot of people think this is how we should be in this country. So, I'm sure there's support there for that kind of methodology. Everyone, make sure you do send us any fan views on the news over the next week. You can, if you go to our blog, superleaguepod.com, each episode blog post will have a link in there for you to click on and make any comments on any news story you see fit of comment. And do check out the news sources, Total RL. .com and loverugbyleague.com. They're doing great work over at loverugbyleague.com at the moment, reporting all these millions of Championship and League One signings and re-signings. Absolute tip of the hat to those guys, in particular Josh, who seems to be heading up a lot of those stories. So good work over there, and keep your eyes around all the news sites at 4020 News, which is going to be quiet at the moment. I don't know if they're on holiday or something, and the BBC Rugby League news site as well. And make sure Rugby League websites get your clicks and support, and any news articles you see as well get your clicks and reads. Okay, that's the news done. There was quite a lot this week, but we're now going to, reluctantly, from my point of view, move into Super League match reviews from round 11 of this year's weird old competition. Right, we're into round 11 of the Super League match reviews, and it's harder again now. We're having to remember back ages, and especially because we thought there was going to be a game on Monday that would be totally fresh in our mind to talk about, and then obviously there hasn't been. So yeah,
feels like ancient history. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going all the way back to Thursday, and I wish it was ancient history rather than something so recent and so awful for me to have to talk about. But the first game we're going to talk about is Hull Kingston Rovers against Wigan, and the Robins won this one 34 points to 18 after leading 22-12 at half-time. Tom Grant was the referee. In terms of the stats, although they made more meters, Rovers made although they made fewer meters, Rovers made ground a better average gain and had an extra break compared to Wigan, as well as more successful offloads. Wigan had the better team tackle success rate, but made 5 more handling errors in this one. Individually, Greg Minikin had 3 tries, 172 metres and 4 clean breaks. Kane Linnett had a try assist, 158 metres and 6 successful offloads. He really did cause some damage. Elliot Minchella, 2 tries, 50 tackles, 11 marker tackles, 5 tackle busts, 132 metres. And George Lawler, 44 tackles, 112 metres, we'll throw in there with. Oliver Gildart made his return for the losing Warriors, and didn't disappoint, unlike most of his colleagues. 9 tackle busts and 175 metres from him. Jackson Hastings showed a lot of endeavour for 1 try, 6 tackle busts and 168 metres. Willie Iser had a try assist, 42 tackles and 10 marker tackles. And Sam Powell had a try, 44 tackles and 13 marker tackles, and just edges out Liam Farrell from the stats, who had over 150 metres.
I thought he had a bad game, did Liam, I'm afraid.
He didn't have a sparkling game, did he? Because the team didn't, but he still worked hard.
Yeah. So Carsten says, well, that was surprising. But KR beat Wigan in all areas. Jordan Abdul with a really good game. Poor Mark. And now back to Tom.
We'll get to Tom in a little while. Always in our shadow said, fuck me, didn't see that one coming. After Wigan getting the obligatory obstruction try, I thought the ref realised they are allowed to lose. That's Tom Grant dropped next week. Abdul might be the fattest halfback in the league, but when he's in the mood, he's bloody good.
St David echoing a lot of things we said. Well, that buggered up the Super Brew. Not that I'm complaining. Great performance by the Robins. Paula and Lynette had Wigan's right edge on toast.
Jen Kay said, Byron McDermott said in the week that pretty soon Hull KR are going to win a match. He wasn't wrong. Wigan all over the place. Too many changes for us and we were outplayed pretty much from the start. I forgot we had Mitch Clark and it took me ages to work out who he was. Deserved win for Hull KR.
He made a couple of good mistakes, just to help you remember. Joshua's granddad said, it hurts to say, I can feel it in these messages from FC fans. It hurts, doesn't it? It really hurts. But KR were bloody good. The FC old boys, Kip Abdul, Ches and Hadley all shone. Wigan well beaten in all aspects of the game. Hastings, French and Farrell all looked ordinary.
Tom Andrews said, what a win. Some excellent tries, and Adrian Lamb doing his best Sean Wayne scowl. Abdul was unplayable most of the game, and Litton had his best game in red and white. Even the ref couldn't stop the red and white charge. Nice to see the neutrals saying how well we played rather than how bad the Pies did. Now we have played the top 2, it must get easier. Oh.
And Paul O'Brien said, a great performance from KR. KR seemed to want it more and scored some great tries. They did.
Yeah, so just to sort of wrap up some of the admin bits from this, Ben Flower was charged with Grade B dangerous contact and got a 2-game ban. He did take it to a tribunal. I'm not sure whether it was on the grounds of the grading of it or the fact that he was charged at all. I'm not sure. But it's been upheld as a 2-game ban. He's got a £500 fine to throw into that. The Ben Flower incident, a lot of people saying there wasn't much in it. Did you catch it? Did you look back at it, or do you want me to explain what he did wrong?
I don't remember it, so you'll have to explain it.
Yeah, this game was a game without much, controversy. The only one was where Bevan French was stood in front of Harry Smith, wasn't he, when